Ananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome to the Sri Hari Nam series. Yesterday we were discussing the 8th offense. So today we will discuss the 9th offense to the holy name. We saw the last of the practical exercises of chanting alone with Radha and Krishna. I hope you have tried to implement this. And we inserted this because to understand the glories of the holy name and not to equate the glories of the holy name with any karma kanda activities. And then yesterday we discussed all these yagyadi, equating to the chanting of the holy names. One who has not tasted the rasa of the holy name, he might come to such conclusion. And there is substantial difference between diamond and glass, and that's the difference between the material karma kanda activities and the chanting of the holy names. So today we will begin with stanza 20, which is to instruct the flatterers about the glories of the holy name. Any ashraddhadhana vyaktira prati harinam updesh karena teni nam aparadi. He who instructs a person who lacks faith and respect towards the holy name to chant the holy name of Lord Hari is an offender unto the holy name. Now, please mark Bhaktivinoda Thakur's statement very, very carefully. You can instruct everyone to take up to the holy name, but first you should create faith in him. That development of faith should happen where you preach the philosophy, and then you can, he develops faith, he develops respect towards the Lord, and then you can instruct him to chant. But without creating the faith, without he developing the respect towards the deities, towards the Lord, you instruct him to chant the holy name, then you are an offender. Then you are an offender. So this is very important for us to understand. Shukareke mukta phale dile emana kona karya hoy na. Just as nothing is accomplished by casting pearls upon the swine. Kevala mukta phalera avamane hoy. It is mere disrespect of the pearls. So this is exactly what happens. If you cast pearls to a swine, the swine will not understand the value of the pearls. So you are disrespecting the pearls. So similarly, the holy name is Chintamani, and you give it to those who are faithless, and they will not accept it. They'll not know the value. So you're disrespecting the holy names, and that's how you commit this offense. Tad रूप नामर प्रति यहादेर उपयुक्त श्रद्धा उदित होय ना ताहादिके नाम उपदेश करा नित्यांत अन्याय. Similarly, it is extremely improper to instruct those in whom appropriate faith and respect towards the holy name has not yet arisen to chant that holy name. So, we have to be very, very careful that we generate faith and respect towards the holy name and then only instruct them to take the name. Otherwise, day one, somebody comes to a temple, oh, you start chanting. He doesn't know why he should chant. We have not given them the Sambandha Gyan. So that's why in most of our temples, we have the Bhagavad Gita course or the DYS course. And it is my observation that those who come to this course, they initially, they don't sometimes come to the temple to take darshan of the deities, but they just go to the seminar hall to attend the course. But once they hear day one or day two, the classes, the next time they come to attend the course, they first come to the temple and they naturally offer respects and then they go for the, seminar. So this is how the Sambandha Gyan has to be given. And then only one has to be instructed to chant the holy name. Anyaya jivera yahate harinam shraddha hoy, tahaye kara kartavya. One should only do that by which various living entities attain faith and respect towards the holy name. Shraddha hoila nam upadesh karibe. With faith and respect, when faith and respect arise, instruct about the holy name. So, the classic example for this is one very great devotee of Lord Shiva who was informed by Lord Shiva that at the end of his life, he had been worshipping Shiva in Kashi. And at the end of his life, he felt that, Mahadev, he fulfills the desire of all his devotees. I've lived my life very poor. Let me at the end of my life, I want to live in opulence. I want a lot of wealth. So he went and asked Mahadev. And Mahadev came in the dream and told, you go to Sanatan Goswami. He will give you all the wealth. So he came to Vrindavan and he asked for Sanatan Goswami and he asked, Mahadev told me that you have a Chintamani. If you touch iron, it will turn into gold. So I want it. Sanatan Goswami was deeply absorbed in the holy names. He said, somewhere in the dustbin, it is there. Please pick it up. So he picked it up and he went back. And as he was rejoicing, now, I'll become very wealthy and rich. He started contemplating, how is it that such a Chintamani, philosopher's stone, Sanatan Goswami has just rejected and kept it in a pile. That means he has a greater wealth. Let me go back to him. So when he went back, he asked Sanatan Goswami, you have some greater wealth than this philosopher's stone. Give me that wealth. So Sanatan Goswami said, first you throw the stone and come back. So with a heavy heart, he threw the philosopher's stone in the Yamuna and he came back. By this time, he had developed faith in Sanatan Goswami. Then Sanatan Goswami gave him the wealth of Nam Ras in the form of, giving the holy names to him. So there should be faith and respect towards the sadhu, and then only we should instruct about the holy name. So this is the 20th, this is the 9th offense. Okay, there's a footnote. Srila Prabhupada has clarified this as follows in his Nectar of Devotion 8. Anyone can take part in chanting the holy name of the Lord, but in the beginning, one should not be instructed about the transcendental potency of the Lord. So you can speak about Nama Tattva, but speaking about the potency, the transcendental potency of the Lord, because they still have not developed that faith. So speaking about the exaggerated, extolling the glories of the potency of the holy name, that will not create faith in them. That will create, in fact, doubts in them. So we should not. So solely there should be a gradual development of faith. So this is what Prabhupada also has to say. Those who are too sinful cannot appreciate the transcendental glories of the Lord, and therefore it is better not to instruct them in this matter. Ei sakal loka apana dikhe guru abhiman karata apatra harinam updesh karena tahara nam aprada krama ada patita han. Those people considering themselves gurus instruct unfit persons about Lord Hari's holy name fall down due to their offenses to the holy name. Such a heavy, repercussions is there. Okay, so this is regarding the instruction to the faithless, to instruct the faithless about the glories of the holy name. In the Sri Harinam Chintamani also, it is mentioned that if a devotee foolishly instructs a faithless person the glories of the holy name, he should be filled with fear. Speaking in the assembly of Vaishnavas, that saintly devotee should formally reject his wicked disciple. If he does not, then that spiritual master, by the power of his offense, will lose his devotion to the Lord. Bewildered by Maya, he will act badly. So this is exactly what even Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying here, that if the Guru instructs unfit persons about Lord Hari's name, he'll fall down due to the offense to the holy name. So same thing here in Sri Harinam Chintamani also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making that point. When the Lord gave an order to preach the glories of the holy name, he also gave this order to him. What was that? The Lord said, you should teach the glories of the holy name to the faithful persons. Shraddhavan jana kara nama upadesh. Fill every country with the glories of the holy name. Loudly perform Sankirtan and faithfully preach. When they become faithful, Shraddha labha jeev kare, the people will approach a bona fide spiritual master. Sadguru Vichar. From the bona fide spiritual master, the people will accept the holy name. Sadguru Nikate Kare Srinam Grahan. Then they will easily attain the great treasure of pure love of Godhead. Make the thieves, swindlers, prostitutes, and others attached to sinful life to give up even the thought of sin. Give them the great treasure of faith. Dibe Shraddha Dhan. When they become very faithful, Shu Shraddha Hoile Dibe Nam Upadesh. Then teach them about the holy name. In this way, give the holy name to each and every country. Ei rupe nam diya kara sarvadesh. So this was Mahaprabhu's instruction, what he has given. If one does not follow this way of distributing the great treasure of spiritual love, and if one commits this offense, then he will fall into hell. If one gives the holy name to the faithless disciple, the spiritual master commits this offense. The spiritual master's ability to taste the nectar of devotional service is then blocked. Tahate gurura hoye bhakti ras pad. Because of this offense, the spiritual master and the disciple both go to hell. This offense is very serious. Ei naam aparada doho shishya guru narakete yaya ei aparada uru. Uru means it's very serious, very big. And that's why the standard example is there. Oh Lord Chaitanya, Haridas Thakur is saying, you were merciful to Jaga and Madai. You first made them faithful and then you gave them the gift of the holy name. So first he made Jaga and Madai faithful and then he gave the gift of the holy name. Oh Lord, your activities are all wonderful. Every person in the world should faithfully follow your footsteps. So we should follow this teaching of Mahaprabhu and give everyone the holy name by first creating faith. Now, Bhakti Tirth Maharaj, when he used to do his book distribution in the Sankirtan parties, he used to, show the book to the person and show the pictures of Krishna, and he used to see their reaction, whether they are, what is their facial expression. If they show some favorable attitude, then he used to speak about the book. Otherwise, he used to come to know that, they are not interested, and he used to not discuss much, and he used to move on to the next person. So this is how first we need to create faith and then instruct. So that's the point about this offense. I hope it is clear. Any questions on this? Okay, there's one question, two questions. Okay, Prashant Shanbag Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
I have seen many times, devotees telling new comers to chant the holy name, so that they get purified, and then then they develop the faith. So is it a wrong system? Because going by this, it seems it is not right way.
You only give the answer then. See, when you tell them to chant, if they have not given Sambandhigan and they reject your instruction, why I should chant? Because they still don't have that faith, that faith in the Naam. So if they reject, I don't want to chant, they say, then what will happen? You will be more forceful, So that will not work. And that's why it is always better that we more give Sambandha Gyan and we see whether they are receptive to hearing. So that requires expertise on the part of the preacher. That requires expertise on the part of the preacher. And that's why, as long as, this Sambandha Gyan in the form of instructions is not given, till then, the growth of the, disciple or the candidate also doesn't happen proper. Now, Vishwanath Chakra Thakur in his Madhurya Kadamani brings out this point when, Madhurya Kadamani is first, the glories of Shuddha Bhakti is discussed in the first, Prathama Vrishti, the first shower. And that's a very important chapter to be understood because Vishwanath Chakra Thakur establishes that what exactly is Shuddha Bhakti. And only one who's taken up to Shuddha Bhakti, these stages apply. Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anarth Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and Prema. So he first establishes that. In the Dvitiya Lahari, not Lahari, Vrishti, the second shower, he speaks about Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, these two, stages he speaks. And there he speaks about a very interesting thing. There is Swabhaviki Shraddha and then Bal Utpadita. Bal Utpadita means forceful. And one of the sannyasis, when he was giving a talk on this, he was mentioning that once two people had just come to Juhu temple, and this devotee was fired up and he preached, and he told them, join the brahmachari ashram. And next day morning, he shaved them, their heads were shaved, and there was an initiation ceremony happening, and they were initiated. Directly after the next day, they got initiation, and after a few days, they were not there. They were again back out in the material world. So this bal utpadita means forcefully preach, and by that they take up to the process. That will not work for a long time. Swabhaviki means that one naturally, as he gets the knowledge, he's inclined to take up the process more and more. Sometimes some devotees come and they start chanting one round because their faith is at that level. But you insist, you have that standard, 16 rounds. You try to push him to chant 16 rounds. He might chant, because you're telling, but from 16, he'll come back again to 1. And from 1, he might go to 0. So take him gradually, step by step, where he naturally feels that, I should increase my rounds. So it requires a careful monitoring and careful development of his faith, which is required. And devotees not understanding this, if they do this bal utpadita, then it will not last. I'll again explain you, there are many cases and many instances which devotees have come and told me that sometimes, the youth preachers, especially, they are fired up and they preach that, you join the brahmachari ashram, they speak about the glories of the brahmachari ashram, and they criticize so much the, grahastha ashram, speak very heavy about it and all. And they might, join, but after a few years, they see that, I was simply pushed into it. I did not naturally want to do it. So then they become averse to it, and they start, become heavy with the other devotees who actually push them like that. So this bal utpadita, Vishwanath Chakra Thakur mentions, it's not going to be fruitful in the long run. It should happen swabhavika. It's swabhavika, it should happen. So that's how we should, deal things in a matured way. I hope it is clear, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Very nice.
Yes, there is one more question. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam. Sometimes we have our family members around who are suffering so much, and we feel that they should chant. For example, they have disease like cancers and all, and it's our means we feel pity, and we think that they should chant some rounds. Those who are suffering, medical problems they have. In that case, even they feel that this is somewhere a remedy for their illness, and this can bring them out of that. And they start, but because of the illness and all, they cannot continue. In that case, what happens?
No, please remember that especially among our own family members, they will see, our acharan. And our preaching usually is not so fruitful. We can chant for them. But as long as they are not inspired, and especially sometimes when there are health issues, that time they are more favorable to receive the message. And that time it is better that others, we inspire others to, instruct them the message about the, the miseries of this material existence, and see how favorable they are, and whether they are able to take up to the process, and they can start the beginning of that process. So like that, if we do that, then step by step, gradually, sometimes we need to work for years together. In fact, I'll tell you, for years together. So I know in one family, all the family members are devotees, but the parents are not. And, they always feel that, they should also take up to Krishna consciousness. But, we have our own attachment to our own family members, and that's why we want it. But he's an individual jiva until he has got that freedom, and Krishna doesn't interfere in that freedom. Please remember that. So when Krishna, who's part and parcel that person is, Krishna doesn't interfere. So why we should interfere? So we should only see that we give them spiritual stimulus in the form of, prasad, in the form of, a kind of association where they get spiritual impressions by which that faith is, happening. That faith is, they are getting that agyat sukruti. And only when that agyat sukruti, matures to a certain degree, then they are inspired to take up, they will take up. So this is the natural process we need to follow. Otherwise, it will be always counterproductive. Many cases which we have seen. I hope it is clear. Okay, another question anyone has? Okay, so we'll go to the last of the offenses to the holy name. नामेर महात्म्य श्रवण करोयो याहर ताहते ऐकांतिकी श्रद्धा न करिया अन्य अन्य साधन उपाय रूप कर्म ज्ञानेर आश्रय त्याग न करेन taharo नाम अपराधी. Those who, even after hearing the glory of the holy name, namera mahatmya shravan karaya, not maintaining exclusive faith and respect towards the holy name, atyantiki shraddha na kariya, do not abandon taking shelter of various spiritual practices such as karma or jnana, अन्य अन्य साधना उपाय रूप कर्म ज्ञान आश्रय त्याग न करेना, are also offenders unto the holy name. This is a very interesting offense, and we will discuss this a little bit. In other words, those who have taken to the pure process of chanting the holy names while taking shelter of karma or jnana are offenders unto the holy name. Now, please remember here there are two words, atyantiki shraddha. Atyantiki shraddha means that is exclusive faith or pure faith, which is mentioned. So those who are now qualified for Shuddha Bhakti, while they are qualified for Shuddha Bhakti, they still take shelter of karma and jnana, then they are offenders to the holy name. Please remember this very carefully. Now, this is a very elaborate topic because initially our faith is mixed, mishra it is, because still we have our sabhava and we don't have complete faith. Complete faith means, Shraddha means Sharnagati. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham toam sarva papebhyo mokshashami mam sucha. So that time, at that point, it is not an offense. It's not an offense because they are slowly taking up to the process of practice of some limbs of sadhana bhakti. At the same time, based on their sabhav, they are doing those activities. But once one attains atyantiki shraddha or purna shraddha, what we call, one becomes adhikari to practice shuddha sadhana bhakti, uttama bhakti, as Rup Goswami has defined. Then if one takes shelter of karma and jnana, he becomes an offender to the holy name. Obviously, those who take shelter of adharma are greater offenders. What to speak? if they take shelter of karma and gyan. If they take to adharma, they are greater offenders. In this regard, Srila Sanatan Goswami Prabhupada has remarked in his commentary on Hari Bhakti Vilas. So what is his remark? Let us see. He who considers himself, his possessions and so on, yaha aham mamadi parama, not chanting the holy name, ahanta mamata cha adi shabdena vishaya bhogadi chaiva paramam pradhanam. To be most important is also an offender to the holy name. Here and so on includes sense enjoyment, bhogadi nam. Na tu nam grahana nam yasya tatha bhuta syat so apya aparadha krit. So here you can see yaha aham mamadi parama. And if you observe that this is the offense, we are implicated in. Because still that conception of I and mine is there. That conception of aham and mama is there. It is not gone. So this last offense seems like, we might not be doing it, but this is what we are caught in, this last offense. That still we maintain the conception of this is my house, these are, my possessions, And when you have this aham and mama with respect to Vishaya, we lose, while chanting that Krishna is mine. I belong to Krishna. This conception, this is ahamta and mamata in the spiritual realm. But the same aham and mama, because of ahankar, is there in the material world. So as long as one doesn't give up this, he is an offender to the holy name. Okay, so this is about the last of the offenses. And within this also comes the pramad, inattention while chanting. And why, sometimes this inattention while chanting, we say it is also, an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Whether this is the 11th offense. So many asked me this question. So this comes within that, aham mamadi. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Sri Harinam Chintamani deals with it separately. And why this happens? Because our attention goes to Vishaya Saktanam, Vishaya Bhog. And our consciousness doesn't turn towards Krishna, but it, drifts towards these all external things. And that is why we commit that offense. So that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur deals with it very exhaustively in his Sri Harinam Chintamani. So what is the remedy for this offense, the last of the offense? Let us see from Harinam Chintamani. Okay, so you can see that aham mamadi directly Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes into inattention while chanting only, pramad. So this is a very vast topic, and we cannot, time doesn't permit, nor the subject matter is quite exhaustive, where he deals with each of these pramads. Pramad is inattention while chanting, and what exactly it is, and what is the remedy. Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about it, which is a separate topic in itself, which we discuss. So after now concluding these 10 offenses, Bhaktivinoda Thakur now gives his conclusion. Evam vida dash prakar naam aprada varjan karite na parile, hari naam udit hoy na. Now Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives the conclusion. If one is unable to reject these 10 types of offenses unto the holy name, the holy name of Lord Hari does not manifest itself. Naam udit hoy na. Ata Shri Krishnamadi na bhavet grayam indriya Sevan mukehi jivvado swayam eva spurit. Swayam eva spurit means it naturally springs up from the transcendental platform, from the soul. So, if one is infested with these 10 offenses, nama udit hoy na. This has been extensively discussed by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Madhuri Kadamani from chapter 3 onwards. So, in the chapter 3, where he discusses also the 10 offenses, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur discusses about it. He gives a very interesting example. I'll just give that example so that we can understand. He gives the example of a person who is diseased, and because he has the disease of the body, there is, all diseases according to Ayurveda stem from the stomach because of Agni. When there is Mandagni, and because of Mandagni, the disease is there in the body. So, when there is Mandagni, although you take nice nutritious food, because there is Mandagni, the food doesn't get digested and assimilated, and it doesn't turn into, energy for you, and you don't feel still healthy. Similarly, although you take the holy name, because you're infested with these 10 offenses, you don't feel the spiritual potency of the holy name. You don't feel the symptoms of the transformations which should happen in the heart by taking the holy name, because you're infested with these offenses. Just like a person who is, having Mandagni, and he is taking the food, but it is not being assimilated because of the disease. So, Madhuri Kadamani deals with that quite a lot in chapter 3. Again, in chapter 3, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur goes into elaborate discussion of what these 10 offenses are and how one should avoid these 10 offenses, which same thing Bhaktivinoda Thakur has done here in his essay. Varjan matre namabas hoya thake. Now, please hear this very interesting thing what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying. As soon as one rejects them, the reflection of the holy name appears while chanting Namabhas. Now, how do you understand that you are free from these 10 offenses? You will start feeling the reflection of the holy name in your chanting. You will start chanting Namabhas. Namabhas is just the reflection of the holy name. The holy name is compared to like the spiritual sun. And just like, on a sunny day, although it is there might be some clouds, you can still feel, the heat, the warmth in your body because of the sun rays, touching your body. Although there might be some clouds, usually the cloud, it's free of clouds especially in the summer, but you can feel it. Similarly, when you chant the holy name, you will start feeling the transcendental potency of the holy name just by giving up these offenses. As soon as one rejects them, the reflection of the holy name appears while chanting. Now, Namabhas again is a very vast topic. And in the Sri Harinam Chintamani, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has dealt about Namabhas. And he says that anyone who understands the Namabhas Tattva, he will attain liberation, he says. Just understanding the Tattva of Namabhas. And there he speaks, and even Haridas Thakur speaks in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Namabhasya hote chitta nirmal. Immediately, when you chant the holy name, just like when you go, when you're tired, exhausted, you're sweating, you feel a little lethargy, you just go and take bath. You immediately feel refreshed. You feel refreshed. Similarly, when you chant the holy names at the stage of Namabhas, you feel actually you are bathed in nectar. You are bathed in nectar. If you're experiencing that, that means it is Namabhas chanting. So Namabhas se hote chitta nirmal. There is no effects of the modes of passion and ignorance now. Namabhase sarva papashaya. There is no now papa gandha also in the chitta. And namabhase mukti pave anayas. So you are on the transcendental platform at namabhas stage. So the reflection of the holy name you will start experiencing once you are free from the 10 offenses. So now you all can only carefully evaluate that how much deeply we are infected with these 10 dasha aparads. Okay, now I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur is speaking the same thing. I already spoke about it. Namabhasa papa shoy hoy, papa shoya hoyla shraddha hoy. By the appearance of the reflection of the holy name, sinful reactions are destroyed. Namabhasa papa shoy hoy. When sinful reactions are destroyed, faith and respect towards the holy name arises. The rasa of the factual holy name is manifested. Now here Shraddha, this Shraddha, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is speaking is not the Shraddha of a Kanishta Adhikari who has taken up to spiritual practices. This Shraddha is what Jeev Goswami says as Purna Shraddha or Shastriya Shraddha or Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Sudrid Nishchay Krishna Bhakti Kaila Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Srila Prabhupada terms this as Goswami Shraddha, not Laukik Shraddha. Initially in the Kanishta Adhikari stage, there is faith, but that faith is not pure. But only when one takes Namabhas, one comes to the Namabhas stage, he is a Madhyam Adhikari, and now he is qualified to take up Shuddha Bhakti because, all his sinful reactions are destroyed by chanting Namabhas. About faith and respect, Shraddha to the holy name, rising after Namabhas chanting. The word Shraddha here does not refer to the stage of attainment of preliminary faith prior to Sadhu Sangha and Bhajana Kriya. So this Shraddha, I clarified what this Shraddha means. Rather, it refers to the stage of Asakti just prior to the attainment of Bhava Bhakti, the beginning of direct experience of the Supreme Lord's spiritual name, form, qualities, pastimes, and abode. So, I think many devotees are not so clear about this. For practicing Uttama Bhakti, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu mentions there are adhikaris who are having adhikar to practice Uttama Bhakti. And in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, he says Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama. These are the three adhikaris. A Kanishta adhikari doesn't have Shastriya Shraddha. He has only Komal Shraddha. And that's why he's a Kanishta. So he is infested with Namaprads. Because, his chitta, there are a lot of unlimited impressions and his chitta is always going here and there. He's still attached to the body. And that's why he is a Kanishta Adhikari. But when one comes to the Madhyam Adhikari, he's Shraddhavan. He's Shraddhavan. So he is able to chant Namabhas. And as his bhajan becomes intensified, as he becomes free, because at the stage of this Madhyam Adhikari, he's Shraddhavan, he understands the import of the Shastras, the meaning of the Shastras, he's able to preach, but sometimes he might be defeated by the opponents. But his conclusion and faith in the Shastra is very, very firm. He's at the stage of Nishta. Now, Nishta, I mean that his faith is at the stage of Nishta. And now, further with the, Uttamadhikari stage, his Shraddha is at the stage of Asakti, where it is mentioned. Rather, it refers to the stage of Asakti. He's a Uttamadhikari. He's a Uttamadhikari to practice what? Uttama Bhakti or Shuddha Bhakti. So this is the stages we go through. And then what happens? Then, actually, As in the Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na sochati, na kamshati, sama sarveshu bhuteshu, mad bhakti labate para. So para bhakti begins from there, from the transcendental platform. So from Namabhas, slowly, Namabhas is also a long stage in one sense. You gradually advance to higher levels, and Nashta Prayeshwa Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki. Your bhakti becomes very, very firm. You know, your bhakti is now not Mishra. It is now no karma and gyan avran is happening. Your bhakti is fixed. And then tada rajastamo bhava kama lobhadascheta chet eter anavidam stitvam satve prasidati. So that is the stage of asakti, ruchi and asakti also, as in the Bhagavatam also it is mentioned. So this is the stage you come to. That asakti referred as Shraddha in certain context is clear from Vishwanath Chakra Thakur's commentary on Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramashati. So in this verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25, Shraddha Rati Bhaktir Anukramashati, it is mentioned in the last line. Here Shraddha refers to Asakti, Rati refers to Bhava, Bhakti refers to Prema, Prema Bhakti. So Shraddha, term has different meanings. And based on the context, the meaning changes. So when I say Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Sudrida Nishchay, Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. This faith is not Komala faith. This faith is firm faith. So this is referring to the Madhyamadhikari level Shraddha. But here Shraddha means what? Shraddha means Asakti. Asakti, and this is Bhava, and this is Prema. That Bhava Bhakti is the beginning of direct experience of the Supreme Lord is clear from Bhakti Rasamrit Sandhu's definition of Bhava Bhakti, which also appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shraddha hoile yathartha nama rasara uday hoy. When faith and respect towards the holy name arises, the rasa of the factual holy name is manifested. So at the Namabha stage, Madhyamadhikari stage, slowly the rasa is experienced. At higher stages, the full rasa we can start experiencing, and bhava, there is direct experience of rasa. Note, in this regard, the following instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can be taken into consideration. The Lord instructed Subhudev Rai. Prabhu kahe, Ihan hoite, Ya Vrindavan, go to Vrindavan and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra constantly. Nirantar kara Krishnam Sankirtan. Now, if you remember our first class discussion, if you want to cross the Namaprad stage, what is the recommendation given? That one should continuously chant the holy names and cross this Namaprad stage. So here also Mahaprabhu is saying the same thing. Nirantara Nama Sankirtan. Eka Nama Bhastumara Papa Dosha Yabe. So when you chant Nirantar, the holy name, and when your chanting is almost pure, all your sinful reactions will go away. So if you remember, again, I had mentioned Eka Krishna Nama Sarva Papa Shaya. And I had told, if you remember, that one name is Namabhas at the stage of Asakti. At the stage of Asakti, when you take that one name, all the sinful reactions are completely destroyed, never to return back again. Never to return back again. After you chant perfectly, you will get shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Ara nama loite Krishna charan pave. So at the stage of Namabhas, Sarva Papa, all the Papa dosha is gone. And that is at the stage of Asakti. At the stage of Bhava and Prema, you will attain the Lord's lotus feet. So this is the same conclusion. The Lord also instructed Sanatan Goswami, Niraprada namaloy paye premadhan. If one chants the holy name without offenses, he gets the most valuable ecstatic love of Krishna. If we consolidate these two set of instructions, it will be evident that Subudhi Rai was instructed to chant the holy name constantly and without offenses. So again, if you remember the first quotation I mentioned in our discussion, Prabhupada, when he comments on Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Prabhupada mentioned that there are these 10 offenses and one should be careful not to commit these offenses, and he gives the 10 offenses. And he says there is no way to atone for these 10 offenses. Therefore, the offender should what? Continue to chant Nirantar. And only then he comes to the offenseless stage. He will gradually come to the transcendental platform, and then he can chant the Shuddhanam. So same conclusion, here is being drawn at the end now. The same conclusion is here. Where is it? Yeah, here. Yeah, here. Such constant offenseless chanting is further distinguished as Namabhas, and Nam with constant offenseless chanting of Namabhas leading to freedom from sins, and constant offenseless chanting of Nam leading to Krishna Prem. Please mark all these statements. Constant offenseless chanting is distinguished as Namabhas and Nam. Constant offenseless chanting of Namabhas leads to freedom from sins. At Namabhas stage, the chanting is Nirantar, and that offenseless chanting will lead to free from sin. And this constant offenseless chanting of Nam now, not Namabhas, will lead to Prem. Therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur often spoke of these three levels of chanting of the holy names: Namapara chanting, Namabhas chanting, and Nama chanting. Ejanya Shastra Namabhasara Mahatma Kirtita Hayache. Therefore, the glory of even chanting the reflection of the holy name is described in the scriptures. So I was just contemplating that, of course, we usually discuss in our retreats Namaprad, because that is where we are stuck up. But the glories of Namabhas also should be discussed. So we are planning to hold another seminar on the glories of Namabhas based on Chaitanya Charitamrit and Harinam Chintamani. For instance, in the history of Ajamil described in the Srimad Bhagavatam 613, the glories of Namabhas, that to Ashraddha Namabhas. Now Bhaktivinoda Thakur concludes. Kalijana Nistaraka Shri Shri Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev Jagat Jivera Nana Vida Klesh Dekya Dayadra Chitta E Rupe Updesh Kariya Chain. Observing the various sufferings of the living entities of the universe, Shri Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Deva, the deliverer of the people in Kali Yuga, with a heart moist with compassion, has instructed as follows. Trunadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahiri. Being lower than downtrodden grass, more tolerant than a tree, without being puffed up with false pride, while giving respect to all, the holy name of the Lord is always to be chanted. Trinapeksha apaneke सामान्य ज्ञान करिया एवं वृक्षेर न्याय सहिष्णु होया स्वयं अभिमान शून्य ओ अपर के सम्मान करित जीव हरिनाम कीर्तनेर अधिकारी हान. Who is an adhikari to chant? Considering oneself more insignificant than a blade of grass, and being tolerant like a tree, personally devoid of pride, and being respectful to others, a living entity becomes eligible to chant the holy name of Hari. Aparada Shunhoya Harinam Grahana Vyavasthaya ए वचनेर मुख्य तात्पर्य. The primary import, mukhya tatparya of this statement is to make an arrangement for uttering the holy name of Hari while being devoid of offenses. In fact, at this stage of the Shikshashtakam, the third verse of Shikshashtakam, you are at the stage of Namabhas. You are now qualified to take Nam. Otherwise, till then it is Namaprad. This is crystal clear from Chaitanya Charitamrit Antya 2020, which notes Lord Chaitanya speaking thus. ऐरूपलय नाम प्रेम उपजय तारा लक्षण सुनो Swarup Ram Roy. O Swarup Damodar Goswami Ramanand Rai, hear from me the symptoms of how one should chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to awaken very easily one's dormant love for Krishna. This is then immediately followed by the Trinadapi verse. So somebody who is at this level only is able to chant the holy names Nirantar, and then he will able to get Krishna Prem. Antya 471 records another instruction. Niraprada namaloy papa paye premadhan. If one chants the holy name avoiding the offenses, that is offenseless chanting, one will very easily obtain the most valuable love of Godhead. If we put these together, it is evident that in order to attain love of Godhead, we need to chant while obeying the Trina Api verse is equal to chant without offenses. So at Trinadapi level, I mentioned it is Namabhas chanting. It is not Namapra chanting. I hope this conclusion is clear. Any apane ke sarvapeksh heen gyan karena teni kakhane sadhu ninda karena. Now this is very, very interesting. If somebody who feels himself superior and others inferior, he commits offense. He who considers himself lower than everyone never blasphemes saintly devotees. Sadhu ninda he will never do. Shivadi devata ke bhed buddhir dwara avaman karena na. He will not dishonor Shiva and other demigods with a separate mentalist. Gurur prati kono prakar avagya karena. He does not in any manner dishonor the bona fide spiritual master. Such Shastra Ninda Karena does not blaspheme authentic scriptures. Hari Namare Mahatmika Yathartha Boli Janena knows the glory of Lord Hari's holy name to be factual. Hari Name Artvad Karena Na Artha Sukshma Gyan Janita Tarka Dwara Hari Shabda Nirgun Brahma Vadera Kalpana Karena does not concoct a meaning of Lord Hari's holy name. That is, he does not speculate a philosophy of impersonalism about the name Hari through argumentation based on dry knowledge. Nama bale pap acharan kare na does not engage in sinful activities on the strength of the chanting of the holy name. Anyanya sat karmera sahita hari namera samanta stapana kare na does not establish the equality of Lord Hari's name with various auspicious activities. Ashraddha dana vyaktir Hari nama diya namera prati upasa utpati karena na evam name kichu matra avishwas karena does not generate ridicule towards the holy name by giving Lord Hari's holy name to a person devoid of faith and respect towards the holy name, does not even slightly disbelieve in the holy name. Tini swabhavita a dashita nam aprada varjan kariya thaken. He naturally rejects these 10 offenses to the holy name. Note, in Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami Prabhu describes those who commit the 10 offenses to the holy name as pashandas, people beyond the pale of Vedic culture. Pashanda Guru Avagyadi Dashaprada Yukta. So, Jiva Goswami is quite heavy. Kehe tahake upahasa karila va tahara apakara karilo teni tahara upakara karite vimukha hana na. If some ridicule him or even harm him, he is not averse to doing good to them. He's not averse to going good to them. Tini jagatara samast karya karite karitoy swayam karta va bhokta boli kono prakar abhiman karena. While engaging, even while engaging in all activities of the world, he does not take pride in himself in any manner as the doer or enjoyer. Tini apna ke jagatar das janiya sarvada jagatar seva vrati han. Knowing himself to be the servant of the world, he is constantly dedicated to the service of the world. Now, this should not be misunderstood. What is the service to the world? He knows himself to be the servant of the world and is constantly dedicated to the service of the world in this sense. He knows that he should make everyone in the world happy within the boundaries of service to the Supreme Lord through the process of bhakti. So this was Prabhupada's consciousness. He wanted the whole world to become Krishna conscious. If he would engage in world service apart from Lord's service, he would certainly not be single-minded in his resolve to serve Lord Krishna, which is the 10th offense to the holy name. Serving, aham and mama. Therefore, his service to the world is exclusively in terms of Ishvara tad adineshu balishu dusircha prema maitri kripa upeksha yaha karoti samadhyama. He does not engage in any activity outside of the 64 limbs of sadhana bhakti, the most auspicious and world benefiting activity. We notice that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also taught us this by his personal example. He exclusively engaged in the direct activities of Bhakti Yoga, focusing on the holy names, forms, qualities, and pastimes of Lord Krishna, using all of his senses and nothing else to the benefit of the world. And he is Mahavadanyaya, the most munificent person the world has come across. Now Bhaktivinoda Thakur concludes. Evam vida adhikari vyaktira mukhya ekhan hari naam ucharitahan takhan se naam antastita chit jagat hoite vidyut agnir nyaya chit falake vyapta huya jagat jivera maya vikar rupa andakar shanti karya thake. When Lord Hari's holy name is pronounced, Evam vida adhikari vyaktir mukhe akan harinam ucharit han. What happens? In the mouth of person qualified as above mentioned, the holy name, pervading the surface of his mind, anta chitta, anta stita chitta jagata, hoite udit angi, agnira nyaya chitta falake. From the spiritual world within him like lightning, removes the darkness in the form of transformation of Maya affecting the living entities of this world. So the inside Raja and Tama which is filled is completely destroyed. The spiritual sun of the holy name has arisen in the heart now. The transformations of the Maya affect the living entities of the world. Such transformations are comparable to darkness that prevent us from seeing the true nature of the Supreme Lord, the living entities, and so on. So just like, we are covered by the clouds and we cannot see the sun. So similarly, we are covered by the modes in the heart. And when we take this name like this, the coverings are removed. And now from the heart's eyes, we can see everything externally. That everywhere we see, Stavar deki, Jangam deki, na deki tara murti, sarvatra hoy, ishtadeva spurti. For the person who avoids the 10 offenses and chants the holy name with a service attitude, that darkness is removed from his mind. This is the paraphrase, Chaito Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So please remember this first verse of the Shikshashtakam is actually what are the symptoms of a person who has attained perfection. Perfected stage are given. Chaito Darpana Marjanam has happened for him. Ataiva, e Mahatma Gan, apnara aprada shunya hoya, Sarvada Hari Naam Grahan Karan. Hari Naam Vyati Jivar Anya Sambal Nai. Therefore, O great souls, he is addressing us, becoming devoid of offenses, aparadh shunya hoya, constantly utter the Lord Hari's holy name. Sarvada Hari Naam Grahan Karan. There is no support for the living entity other than Lord Hari's holy name. Nama Vyatita Jivar Anya Sambalanai. Harinam Vetit Jivar Ashranai. There is no shelter for the living entity other than Lord Hari's holy name. In this regard, we notice the following statement of Lord Sri Krishna spoken to Arjuna from Adi Puran and which is quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Very, very interesting quotation. Krishna is speaking about it now. Let us see what he says. O son of Parth, the holy name of the names of those beings who repeatedly chant my holy name faithfully or neglectfully are always in my heart. Shraddaya Helaya Nama Ratanti Mama Jantava Tesham Nam Sadha Partha Vartante Ridheya Mama. So whether you chant faithfully or neglectfully, the Lord's attention goes there, as in the case of Ajamil. Nama na nama sadrisham jnanam, na nama sadrisham vratam. There is no knowledge like the chanting of the holy name. There is no vow like the chanting of the holy name. Na nama sadrisham dhyanam, na nama sadrisham phalam, na nama sadrisha tyago, na nama sadrisha shama. There is no attainment like the chanting of the holy name. There is no renunciation like the chanting of the holy name. There is no means of pacification like the chanting of the holy name. Shama, Shama means, the heart, is pure. Na nama sadrisham punyam, na nama sadrishi gati. There is no piety like the chanting of the holy name. There is no shelter like the chanting of my holy name. E dustara bhava samudra bhasman huya jnana karmadir ashray grahan kevala trin dharan purvak mahasagar uttirna hoyar vanchar nyay nitanta nirartakha. While floating in this insurmountable ocean of material existence, taking shelter of activities such as jnana and karma is as extremely meaningless as hankering to cross over the great ocean while holding only a blade of grass. Taking shelter of karma and jnana is like, trying to cross the ocean with the help of a blade of grass. Activities such as karma and jnana equal to karma, jnana and adharma. Hari Naam Rupa Mahapota Avalamban Purveke e Dustar Samudra Par Huna. Taking shelter of the great boat in the form of Lord Hari's holy name, cross over this insurmountable ocean. Taking shelter of Lord Hari's holy name involve increasing one's hearing, chanting, and remembrance of the holy names while avoiding the 10 offenses until he reaches the stage of chanting the holy name constantly. This can be gathered from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Madhur Kandamni. Now there's a note. Thakur Bhaktivinoda Thakur began his booklet with a discussion on how to cross over the insurmountable ocean of material existence. Throughout the text, he has established that by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna without offenses, one may do so. So that ends our discussion on the 10 offenses. Krishna Arpanam Astu. There is a short note which I have added in the end from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. With your permission, I would like to take that and complete the discussion. And then I will take up questions. Now, this is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Mahaprabhu is instructing Rupa Goswami about how Bhakti Lata Bij, by Guru Krishna's mercy we get. With Shravan Kirtan, slowly this Bhakti Lata will grow and it will give Prema Phal when it attains the lotus feet of Krishna. But he warns, If one commits Vaishnava aparadh, then this Bhakti Lata will be uprooted from the root and the leaves will dry away. So this is first thing he says, that we have to avoid Vaishnava aparadh. The second thing he says that while Shravan, while doing hearing and chanting, if you don't uproot the Upashakas, which also the weeds which grow, then also they will stunt the Bhakti Lata. So in that context, these are the verses. Kintu yadi latara sange ute upashaka bhukti mukti vancha yata asankyatara likha. If the unwanted creepers, the upashakas, grow, which are they? Bhukti and mukti, the desire for bhukti and mukti. That means still we are not anya bilashita shunyam. That means Nishiddhachar kutinati jiva himsan labha puja pratishtadi yata upashakagan. So what are these upashakas? Mahaprabhu is mentioning Nishiddhachar, kutinati, jiva himsa, labha, puja and pratishtadi. So these are the other weeds which grow and they can stunt the Bhakti Lata. Now in this context, usually this duplicity or kutinati or the desire for pratishta is there, and we act duplicitously in order to get desire. And because we have the desire for fame, and we commit jivhimsa to other Vaishnavas, and because of that, we do nishiddhachar. We break the regulative principles. So that is the flow here. And Prabhupada quotes. Now here why I'm pointing this is that if one chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra while committing offenses, these unwanted creepers will grow. Now my point is that if you're chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and you're not careful to avoid, especially inattention while chanting, you're chanting, and what is happening? The Bhakti Lata is not getting the nourishment. You are nourishing the Upashakas. The unwanted creepers will grow. One should not take advantage of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra for some material profit. Puja la pratishta. And again, Prabhupada quotes this. The unwanted creepers have been described by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He states that if one hears and chants without trying to give up the offenses, one becomes materially attached to sense gratification. Mark this statement of Bhakti Prabhupada. If you are hearing and chanting and you are not ready to give up the 10 offenses, you will become more materially attached to sense gratification in devotional realm while practicing bhakti. If you don't endeavor to give up the 10 offenses, you will become more and more materially attached. One may also desire freedom from material bondage like the Mayavadis, or one may become attached to Yog Siddhis and desire wonderful mystic powers. If one is attached to wonderful activities, one is called Siddhi Lobi, greedy for material perfection. So you might have some skills and you become more expert in those skills and you think you have attained perfection because you have not given up the 10 offenses. One may also be victimized by diplomatic or crooked behavior, or one may associate with women for illicit sex. One may make a show of devotional service like the Prakrita Sahajyas, or one may try to support his philosophy by joining some caste or identifying himself with a certain dynasty, claiming a monopoly on spiritual advancement. Thus, with the support of family tradition, one may become a pseudo guru or a so-called spiritual master. You can come to this position also. You might start claiming that you're a self-made guru. One may become attached to 4 sinful activities. Interesting. Please note that. If you don't give up the 10 offenses, you might become attached to the 4 sinful activities. You took up to spiritual life and slowly you got purified and you gave up these 4 sinful activities. But if you're not careful to avoid the 10 offenses, you'll become maybe attached to the sinful activities. That's what Prabhupada is making the point here. Illicit sex, intoxication, gambling and meat eating, or one may consider a Vaishnava to belong to a mundane caste or creed. He's a Hindu Vaishnava. He's a European Vaishnava. He should not be allowed to enter the temple. In other words, one may consider Vaishnavas in terms of birth, thinking one is a Brahmana Vaishnava, another is a Shudra, another is a Mlecha Vaishnava, and so on. One may also try to carry out professional business by means of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra or reading Srimad Bhagavatam, or one may try to increase his monetary strength by illegal means. Also, one may become a cheap Vaishnava by trying to chant in a secluded place for material adoration. Puja, Labha, Pratishta. One may desire mundane reputation by making compromises with non-devotees concerning one's philosophy or spiritual life. One may become a supporter of a hereditary caste system. All these are pitfalls for personal sense gratification. Just to cheat some innocent people, one makes a show of advanced spiritual life and becomes known as a sadhu, mahatma, or a religious person. All this means the so-called devotee, Prabhupada says, has become victimized by the unwanted creepers, and the real creeper, the Bhakti Lata, has been stunted. So, dear devotees, why I'm mentioning this purport is because over a period of time, as we are chanting, if we don't work on uprooting the upashakas and giving nourishment to the Bhakti Lata, and we are not careful to avoid the 10 offenses and chant Nirantar to come to this Namabha stage, then this is what can happen. And Prabhupada is narrating in this purport. So that's the point. Okay, so we end our discussion here. We have concluded this whole essay. Bhaktivinoda Thakur began with the predicament of the jiva who is caught in Maya and how he can come out of it by karma, jnana, and bhakti. He has established how karma is futile, jnana is futile, and bhakti by what? The process of chanting the holy name. And the holy name, Nam, this is the potency of the holy name. These is the transformations of the holy name. If you are not experiencing, then you're infested with the 10 offenses. Then he goes into the 10 offenses and how by avoiding these 10 offenses, when you are at this stage of Trunadapi, then you will not commit these 10 offenses, and Nirantar chanting like this, you will completely become free from sin, and Nirantar, then you chant Nam, you will attain Prem. So he is given the entire path by how we can attain the goal. Okay, thank you very much. We just took a little more time because some additional insights were there from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I wanted to also bring it to the devotees' notice. Any questions, any clarifications anyone has? Okay. Yes, Prashant Sharma Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, for the 9th offense remedy, discussed, no? Prabhu?
Yes, Ashraddha. Those.
Yeah, giving to Ashraddha people, holy name.
Yeah. What's the question?
Yeah, what is the remedy for that offense?
We spoke from the Chaitanya Sri Harinam Chintamani. We mentioned that. We mentioned that if one commits that offense, then he should go to the Vaishnavas and admit it, and then we discussed that, Prabhuji.
Okay. That was for 7th or for 8th, no, Prabhu?
No, Ashraddha, for Ashraddha.
Okay.
Aham Mamadi, I said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur doesn't mention in Harinam Chintamani, but I mentioned that inattention while chanting.
Okay.
Because, the root is inattention. I belong to Krishna, you have, and you're chanting, then, your consciousness is fixed in Krishna. The mobile doesn't belong to me, and your consciousness will not go to the mobile. So if it is going to anything material, that means there is inattention. So that's why it is a separate topic in itself, which, has to be discussed. It's a separate seminar in itself. That's what I mentioned.
Okay.
So that's why I did not discuss that in detail, that inattention while chanting. That's pramad. It is madness. In fact, it is madness to do that. In fact, in one of the initiation ceremonies here in Vrindavan, His Holiness Bhakti Dhir Damodar Maharaj mentioned that the 11th offense is to be inattentive while chanting. Now I am adding the 12th offense. He said that if I see anyone while chanting, he's with his mobile, he said, I will not consider him as my disciple. And I will take the beads back, he said, if your attention goes to that. So he was so heavy about it because, this has become a now, it's like a heavy disease which has spread now everywhere. That's heights of madness, aham mamadi, If your attention goes to something else while chanting the holy name, it's pramad, it is madness, So that's why it's a separate topic in itself, and it requires very elaborate discussion, which we usually do in our on-site seminars on the holy name. Any other questions, clarifications? Okay, one last question, then we are going to take. Any other devotees have any other questions? Okay, let's take Shwet Gopi Mataji's question. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Prabhuji. Prabhuji, when we were discussing with people who are not like eager or willing to chant, so I was having question in relation to young kids. So that was answered, like you said that our example, and then we can encourage them by giving them prasad, and you're talking about sambandha gyan that time.
Yes. So
Yes, that was.
what's
Yeah,
your
yes, that was all, Prabhu.
Yes, especially with parents and children. Parents have attachment to their children, and they want that they should take up to spiritual practice. And sometimes, most of the cases I've seen that it happens anti-preaching, and they become really against it because one of he's now maybe 26 or 27 years old, and he shared with me that I'm more now inclined to come and attend a Bhagavad Gita course, but in my childhood my father was forcing me to chant, and I was dead against my father. I said I will never take up a spiritual life, but now he's on his own, he's inspired. So sometimes because we have attachment to them, and we try to force it, that balutvadvita, it doesn't work out, and it becomes more of an anti-preaching. So we should be careful about it and sensitive to it. And although they are our children, our relatives, it requires a lot of maturity to deal with them and only expose them to spiritual stimulus by which they naturally would like to take up to the process, and never to preach them. We have to just give them spiritual stimulus. That's it. There's no need to preach through words. Everything is understood by actions. So that's the principle we need to follow. Virendra Yadav Prabhuji. Yes. You have any question? Okay. So I just went through very quickly about this important concept of Shraddha, that Shraddha goes through these stages. And Shraddha is actually that adhikar. You're still getting the adhikar to chant. And at the Madhyam, the Shraddha is at the Nishtha platform. And it has to go to Asakti, which is the Uttam Adhikari, to take up to Uttama Bhakti. And at that stage, all the papa is destroyed. Your Namabas, in your Namabas stage, you are at a very advanced stage. And then you will be able to go to, continuing chanting like this, you will go to the Prema stage. This is a very important concept which is not easily understood. So I hope that was also clear to you all. If you have any questions on that also, you are free to ask. This is not easily or well understood. That's why I don't know whether devotees were able to follow it. Yes, it is here. That's Shraddha Ratir Anukamashati. So any clarifications on that point? Any questions or clarifications on that point? No. Okay. So we'll stop here. Shri Harinam ki Jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.